Hello everybody and welcome to another episode of the Outside Insider podcast here on Philly Sports Network with myself, Liam Jenkins. You know the score by now. All things Eagles related from the last 7 days, rolled up into a big Shrove Tuesday pancake, sprinkled on with some sass and some sarcasm, and then fed to you romantically. Now, depending on how you view Pancake Tuesday, my record's 13. I like to get through pancakes. I've got 13 pancakes level of content to get through here today. I didn't have any this year though. I was absolutely fuming. It's the first year we've forgotten that Shrove Tuesday is a thing, and I don't know what to do with myself. So I just went to Tesco, which is a supermarket in England, and I bought some sweets, which just isn't the same. It's just not the same. And that's a comparison we'll get to a little bit later as well. But if you're new here, wondering why am I listening to a British kid talking about the Eagles? Why is his voice the same pitch as a NASCAR wheel gun? This is the time to subscribe. We need your help. So if you're not subscribed already, there are a million ways to do so, all of them in the description below. Whether you want iTunes, Spreaker, Spotify, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, YouTube, or even an old cassette tape which can fit into your Sony Walkman, they're all available in the description below, potentially. Some of them might not be. Just have a little Google search or tweet me very angrily and you will be fine. We've got a lot coming up for you today, in case you haven't realised already by the big pancake analogy, including the return of Thank You Next, after you guys let me down drastically last week. I'm not over that heartbreak, okay? I've been listening to Shania Twain. Does Shania Twain sing heartbreak songs? I don't think she does. I'm pretty sure she sang That Don't Impress Me Much, which it didn't. So we've actually got questions to answer today. That's coming up a bit later on in the show. But before we get into that, we do have some major topics to discuss. Because somehow last week, this always happens with me, and it's the most infuriating thing. I'll put out a podcast, I'll hit record, I'll talk for an hour, and I'll upload it and I'll go, do you know what? Nothing really happened that week, but that was a great show. I filled an hour of talking Eagles drivel, and it's fine. It doesn't even sound bad. And then out of nowhere, the Eagles will make 74 contract moves, re-sign 3 players, draft a new quarterback, trade their old one, and then demolish their old stadium. And I'm like, alright then, I suppose we've got to talk about that in a week's time. And that's sort of what happened this week. Howie Roseman went on a tear in terms of contract extensions, and I don't want to get into them all individually because there's a video on the channel on Brandon Graham. In fact, you guys have had 3 videos in 3 days. You've got enough material to Netflix and chill Eagles content on the Philly Sports Network YouTube channel. I don't know why you'd want to do that, but if you want something, actually it's probably the best material to use, because you're not going to be watching it intensely. You can't get attached to the characters other than my nasally voice. And then you can just pause it after 36 seconds and away you go. So you're welcome for your romantic lives there. You are welcome. If you're not watching those videos for Netflix and chill purposes, so we do have a lot to talk about. And the only way to liken what Howie Roseman has done over the last 7 days is doing some credit card wizardry. Howie Roseman, bless him, was over the cap. And when he goes to talk at the NFL Combine, you can see the stress that has on his poor little shoulders. That once glorious haircut, that chiseled jawline, has now got facial hair. Not the haircut. The haircut does not have a chiseled jawline. But the haircut's going grey. Roseman has got, and that may be, on another note, one of my favourite things about watching the NFL closely, that all of these young guys, I wonder how long Sean McVay will take to go grey. Because all these guys come in full of energy and sass, and they're passionate and they're ready to go, and then within a year, they look like they've been addicted to meth for about 6 months. And I can't blame them. I mean, I'm on the same scenario. My sleep clock? My body clock is so broken at this point. So if I do ramble today, you've got to forgive me. I was up until 6 a.m. and I woke up at 3 p.m. It wasn't a good look. It wasn't a good look, alright? But what Roseman has done is realise he's got quite a lot of credit card debt. And he knows he doesn't have the money up front to pay it all off. So what he's done is he's gone to the Bank of Mother and gone, Mama Roseman, I need your help. Alright, I am over the cap by around $7 million. I could really do with a hand here. So Mama Roseman's gone, alright, I'll give you the money. And because I'm your mum, there's no interest, is there, with your mum? She's not going to go, right, I want 8.5 million back. So Roseman pays it off. And then he moves that balance, which is now 0, onto another credit card. And then he asks his mum for another loan. And then he uses that balance to add to it. So now he's got some luxury. And before you know it, Roseman is just moving money round that isn't his. Never really having to pay the full amount. and constantly ending up with more to spend. It's a really weird scenario. It's kind of like borrowing dinner money at school, you know, from your parents. Like, so I always used to get, I found out about this, okay, so as a kid, the secondary school I went to used to sell bacon rolls in the morning. Phenomenal, alright? You can't beat a bacon butty before school. So every morning, I used to ask my mum for money for the bacon butty. And then I realised that the bacon butty was 70p, which is about, I don't know, cents of something. So if I take £1 and I keep the 30p, I've got enough at lunchtime for a cookie. If I do that 2 days in a row, I've got 60p, right? And it's just basic math here, but basically I was wheeling and dealing at school, getting flapjacks and cookies and bacon rolls and slush puppies and all kinds of stuff, because that £1, instead of just getting me a bacon roll, I could reinvest it and then take that £1 outright again and move that money around. And it's the same thing with Howie Roseman. He's taken a Brandon Graham extension, which could have been far more expensive, and made it really affordable. Really affordable. Just by jumping the gun. All he did was realise that guys like Ziggy Ansah, DeMarcus Lawrence, Jadeveon Clowney are all going to get monumental paychecks. And the market was filling up, so he had to make a jump. So what he did, 3 years, $40 million. I still feel Graham was mistreated in that regard. I feel like if they'd have paid him a year ago, that was what he deserved, and it would have been like a $50 million contract. But in a weird way, they've made the right decision, because they're now paying less for a less productive but still a reliable player. So I'm not going to kick up a fuss, but I do feel like Graham has literally endured hell in terms of not knowing where his future lies. But that's besides the point. You then take Lane Johnson's deal, and this is beautifully done, alright? Now, I've done an article on this. It's going to sound confusing if I tried to word this, so please bear with me. Lane Johnson originally signed a $56 million deal with the Eagles for 5 years. That included a $10 million signing bonus, $35 million guaranteed moolah. That's a lot, isn't it, right? But then Lane Johnson went and got silly and started taking PEDs, so Roseman was like, Don't sass me, Lane. Alright, we're going to restructure this. They took all that guaranteed money out to add some flexibility. But now, when the Eagles need cap space, they add 2 dummy years to his contract to give them an extra window to move money around. Like, imagine that! That's like saying, right, I need a bacon roll today, man, but I also want a drink. Give me £2 today and none tomorrow. And then you just buy a flapjack and you pocket the £1.40 and off you go. That's all he's done. So Johnson's cap hit is $7.2 million next season. That number doubles. That number doubles the season after. But Roseman took what was a base salary, reduced it to the league minimum, which is now $720k, I believe, made the rest a bonus that we paid the rest over his contract, or by a certain owner. Now this is where this gets fun. Because Jeffrey Lurie is so in touch with the Eagles, from what I understand and what a birdie told me, is that these bonuses, where Roseman restructures and they take all that guaranteed money, they turn it into a bonus and they parade it over a certain amount of time, it is a legal loophole. Because they just get Jeffrey Lurie to sometimes slip a little bit of money under the table and pay off that bonus. They've got to be paid within a certain window. Sometimes it's a year, sometimes it's 3. But Jeffrey Lurie can do it all. And an owner which has a lot of cash available, that is at one with the club, that wants to, I guess, repeat that success and sustain that Super Bowl run once more. He wants to get involved. He wants to help where he can. So they're on the same page. Between GM and owner are so intertwined, and you don't see that often. But that's the sort of thing. Lane Johnson's not taking a pay cut. He's not losing money. It's just being moved around. And it is genius. It is absolute. Lane Johnson is realising that Howie Roseman is going to the bank of mum. We'll call it Dad. You know, Daddy Jeff. Oh, I'm never saying that again. Daddy Jeffrey Lurie. If you're listening to this, Mr. Lurie, come on the podcast, please. But he's literally just kind of going, right, we need to pay this money. You've got the money. You've got it sat here. But if you slide it now, we can create it over a longer period of time. It's an interest-free loan. And they'll never pay the full amount, because by the time 2-3 years passes by and Johnson wants another extension, they'll do the same again. And then again. And then he'll be 76 years old like Jason Peters, and then they'll do it again. It is absolutely genius. They are now $19 million, $21 million I should say, under the cap. Which is staggering. The reason other teams don't do this is because they're taking a gamble. Not many owners have a spare $10 million lying around to just give to a player outright or to parade over a bonus time. On that same note, actually on a slightly different note, I don't know if you can hear this or not, my brother's just started listening to very loud music in the shower, and I don't know what to do about this, because is it coming through? I don't know. It's very hard to focus when Lil Peep's just blasting out sad bops and making you miss your ex. But it's weird because not many people have an owner in that position. What Howie Rose's been doing isn't mythical, it's not magical, it's just smart. It's the attention to detail that will see such a small tremor like the idea of Brandon Graham signing early and turn it into a real gain for the team. It is just such a gutsy decision to make, where you're able to take a bonus, move it around, take guaranteed money, move it around. And other owners don't like the idea of investing that much into a player up front, or investing that much into a player long term, or giving a player leverage, which is what it's doing. Put it this way, if you've got a player like, I don't know, Michael Bennett, who we're going to touch on very shortly, I assume anyway, if you take what would be a base salary, you then make that a bonus, and you give that bonus to him up front, do you not think that would strip him of an incentive? Do you not think that would give him less to play for? Because he's got the bag. The bag is secure. The bag is in the trunk of your car. I said trunk. Wow, I'm so proud. It's in your car. Right? What? You've got no more logic to play. It's a very interesting window, and teams don't like stripping themselves of leverage and giving all that power to the players, which is exactly what Roseman's doing. But it's a back and forth culture, because then the players buy into Roseman and free up that cap space, which gives them more free agents, yada, yada, yada. It is just genius. So I'm very excited. I'm going to try the same with my credit. I don't know how it's going to go with my credit card. I can't see my mum wanting to pay that off. I can't see the bank wanting to pay that off. But I'm sure if I just, tell them to take that base salary and make it a bonus, right? It's all going to be fine. That's what you want to do if you've got a credit card, guys. Just go into your local bank, get that sorted. Take that guaranteed money, make it a bonus. It'll be paid off in about a week's time. But another aspect of this is that what they've done is change the complexion of the off-season. Because, again, we've had for a year now that the Eagles... Well, 2 years. I mean, I put this out, I remember, in February 2016. Someone told me the Eagles will build through the trenches religiously to build around the new quarterback. This was before, obviously, the draft. And now, we look down the line. I don't know if you can hear that music. It's still there. It's getting a bit louder now. We're gonna pretend if it's not there, it's really awkward. But they've now taken someone like Brandon Graham, Jason Kelce, Isaac Seumalo, all along the trenches. And it's changed the complexion of the offseason. One of the big concerns going into this draft class was defensive end will be light. You're going to lose Brandon Graham, you might lose Michael Bennett, you might lose Chris Long. Is Derek Barnett ready to be a starter? And if I said to you that question, is Barnett ready to be a starter full time? You may not react, but some of you may get a little bit excited, a bit flustered. Others of you may not. Okay? You've invested early in that draft pick. You've asked her out on a date. You've taken her to dinner, and she didn't want to split the bill. You've had to pay. Her end of the bargain's not come up yet. Is she ready to make that jump into a full-time? I don't know. There's a lingering doubt there. She's one-dimensional. She only goes on... I don't know where I'm going with that comparison. But is she ready to be a full-time starter? I'm not sure. Adding Graham gives you that flexibility. Which, especially considering the recent Michael Bennett murmurs, is incredibly important. Look at the offensive line. We go from edge to edge, okay, like bookend to bookend. Lane Johnson's fine. Brandon Brooks has an Achilles injury. Jason Kelce was contemplating retirement. We don't know what's happening with Wisniewski and Seumalo. And Jason Peters is 9,003 years old. That's not a great situation. Fast forward a little bit. Lane Johnson's fine. Brandon Brooks has an Achilles injury. Jason Kelce is back. Seumalo's on a 3-year deal. Jason Peters is still 9,003 years old. The cheat code there is Seumalo, who played right tackle in 2018, who played centre in 2018. And I don't mean in pre-season, where he was flinging balls over Nate Sudfeld's head at the speed of sound, which was monumentally impressive. How he got it that wrong that much, I don't know. It's like he didn't know his own power. He was just throwing them so far behind, it was incredible. But Seumalo played well. There is a film room video on the YouTube channel that shows just how well he played. He's very athletic, and I think the blessing of that move is you know he's going to start, you don't know where. Is he going to be left guard? Is he going to be right guard for Brooks? Can he play centre? Will he play tackle for Peters? It gives the Eagles, what's that F word? No, not FIFA. Flexibility. It all comes down to that word. Again, Jason Kelce gives him the same thing. Was Seumalo ready to be the heir to a centre throne? Probably not when he's throwing the balls outside of Lincoln Financial Field by snapping them from the 50-yard line. But it buys them now that flexibility. Someone like Matt Pryor can step up. Someone like Mailata can step up. It's going to be one of those off-seasons now where the Eagles' draft needs have just changed in a short amount of weeks. Because now you're not looking at a mid-round pick for a defensive end, I don't think. Because you've got Graham, you've got Barnett, Chris Long should be back, and Josh Sweat. I don't think that's going to be the end of the world. Like, even if you lose Michael Bennett, that's still a very solid four-man rotation. Maybe taking a 6th or 7th round pick, maybe a free agent. You've got now 21 million cap space to do it. So we can scratch defensive end off. Offensive line, it was, right, let's find the heir to Jason Peters if Vaitai isn't the guy. Let's find a replacement for Jason Kelce. You've now got Seumalo there, who now can start right guard while Wiz starts left, and you've got all 5 pieces of that line back again. That gives you flexibility. It has been a string of good moves for the Eagles. They've got 21 million cap space. They are ready to hit the free agency window running. But before we get to any of what I think they're going to do in free agency, I've got a draft theory I just have to share with you, because I think it may break the internet and cause you to be very angry with me. I need to get it out of my system. But again, if you're not subscribed, please make sure you are. Hit that big purple/red/yellow button. Do you remember that song? That red and orange and green? If you don't worry. But hit subscribe anyway, because it will stop me singing again. Anyway, I've got a draft hypothesis, and I think this is the boldest take I've ever made. Now, I've made some bold takes. I wanted Trey Burton to be a receiver. I wanted Rasul Douglas to move to safety. I wanted Kevin Hogan to be drafted by the Eagles in the 3rd round originally. I've had it. They're not like, brash takes. They're not out of the question takes, but they're questionable enough. Sort of like if you're going to predict you're going to be with someone in a year's time and then you just don't and you've still got it. What? You said that? Not me. Huh? My take for this. Settle down. Buckle up. Okay. You may not like it, but just hear me out. I think in the 2019 NFL draft, the Eagles will select a tight end within the first 3 rounds. Now you may... I know. Calm down. It's alright. Hear me out. The Eagles like to traditionally have a 4 tight end rotation. If you think back to 2014, you had James Casey, Brent Selleck, Zach Ertz, and an undrafted Trey Burton. Within the space of 3 years, Casey was hampered by injuries, Selleck went down as a franchise legend, Ertz broke out, and Burton earned himself a big bag in Chicago after a very impressive 2017 campaign. This year, the Eagles had 2 tight ends because Richard Rodgers was injured and kept falling over, and then they had another tight end who literally was dreadful. No offence to Joshua Perkins, but when they're using you on screens for no reason and slants and you're dropping them with alligator hands and then looking all upset, it's not the best way to make the most of that, isn't it? So, Billy Brown has unfortunately not turned out the way the Eagles hoped. He was another off-season darling out of Shepherd. And you know what really annoyed me about that? That I could no longer use the headline, Shepherd's Warning. Alright? I had 2 years of that, where the occasional Shepherd's Warning headline, they had a defender out of Shepherd University as well. I was living the journalistic dream of once every few months going, Shepherd's Warning, and now I can't. Now I've got Washington, and now I've got North Dakota State. It's just not gonna have the same effect. There's only so many puns you can make of the West Virginia, where the Eagles seemingly take a player every year. It's just not quite got the same ring to it, is it? But either way, that 2 tight end group of Zach Ertz and Dallas Goedert almost was a train wreck. And I don't mean in terms of production, But weeks 1 and 2, Dallas Goedert barely even saw the ball. It wasn't even on the field for half of it. They were using Josh Perkins. And Doug Peterson was going, it's all schematic, man. It's our matchup, he's right personnel. And then after about 2 weeks of us shouting at him, he started using Dallas Goedert, and he was actually very good. Shock, would you believe it? But then the Eagles discovered that 12 personnel was the way forward. The issue with that, if one tight end goes down, you're in a bit of a problem. The other aspect of that to look at is how much better were the Eagles with 13 personnel last year? I should say 2017 now. When you had Trey Burton and Zach Ertz as 2 receiving options and an inline blocker in Brent Selleck. It was fantastic. 1, it minimises the usage of a receiver, which means at any given time in a 13 personnel look, you're only going to have 2 receivers on the field. Unless you're being a bit shifty, Could be an 0-3 personnel. I don't know. Depends how you want to play it. But that would detract the usage of, it stops that depth being an issue, which it is currently, when no one knows if Aguilar's coming back, or no one knows if it's Matthews or Golden Tate, or if it's a number 2 guy. If you've only got 2 on the field, it massively minimises that problem. It also forces defenders to stack the box, which is great. And then you can attack them downfield. But eventually, over time, obviously, Zach Ertz broke out at his fantastic campaign where he was targeted about 1 million times a game. And then Dallas Goedert caught a touchdown in London, and I saw it live, and I got a little bit flustered. And now we're here, where Richard Rodgers hasn't been re-signed. Josh Perkins, just please don't get re-signed. And now you've got Goedert and Ertz again. Hashtag Goederts. Well, I made the hashtag. We had a debate about this a year ago. That was the Liam Jenkins hashtag. Trademarked. It's gone to court. So if you're using it, I need a mention. Alright? So the Eagles need a third tight end. Mainly because Zach Ertz is becoming Brent Selleck. Only better. He's becoming that leader of the unit. And he can't lead one man. If you've only got 2 tight ends and one goes down, you're in a spot of bother. So what I would suggest is that the Eagles, instead, of looking for a slot receiver, or looking for someone to replace Aguilar, in those first 3 rounds, why can't they go out and select a tight end? There are plenty of them to look at. There are some genuinely, really impressive tight ends. It's a deep class for tight ends. I'm not saying they go out and get Noah Fant, although that would be amazing. Could you imagine an offense, with Iowa's Noah Fant, Dallas Goedert, and Zach Ertz in the same formation? That would genuinely get me erect. I would be hard. Throbbing. Yeah? That is incredible. That's the dream. What about a bit further down? You don't want to invest that. So even someone like Zach Gentry out of Michigan. Elise Mack, who at 6'4", 251 pounds, he's a little bit more of a receiving tight end, but some see him as a genuine slot receiver. There are some guys out here who people perceive to be a slot receiver that are too small to play tight end. Foster Moreau could be an interesting blocking kind of guy. There's another man I know a little bit further down the board. I think it could be Brandon Fritz out of UNC. And everyone's missing out on him because the UNC offense was honestly awful. So he hasn't got the, scout reports he deserves? Or the usage he deserves? Kano Dillon out of Oregon could be another guy, slightly bigger. Right at the bottom of the draft, could be a nice little 7th round pickup. But I think first 3 rounds, there are some nice names there. Dax Raymond out of Utah State is a very flexible route runner. Jack Sternberger, Texas A&M. Dawson Knox, Kahale Waring. I'm kind of struggling for names at this point, but those guys, it would not surprise me in the slightest. Because instead of paying Nelson Aguilar $9 million, why not flex a rookie tight... I'm getting a bit turned on thinking about it, boys. Why not flex a tight end into the slot and then have nub tight ends? Oh, this is dirty talking. Alright? You've got a receiver. You've got a tight end in the slot. You've got 2 nub tight ends, a receiver the other side, and you're going to send them all on crossing routes on a play action look, and this is a dream. Make it happen. That is my prediction. I don't think... We live in a world now where everything's changing. For some reason, 1 million NFL safeties have all just been dropped in the last week. I've never seen a free agency class this loaded at safety. If the safety position is being devalued, and free agents will take less money, and their presence on the team will be more in the box and over the top, because corners are being asked to do more, why not punish them? Why not take advantage? Be the next 3-point bubble in the league. The Eagles like to liken themselves as the Golden State Warriors. What Golden State did was find a window of opportunity, take Steph Curry, take Klay Thompson, build a base around them, and create a 3-ball bubble, which has now literally transformed the NBA. People don't look at the dunk contest anymore. They care about how many threes can you knock down, how good does it sound when it's swishing about, and what does that wrist look like when it flicks? Not like that. Dirty comment, alright? This, to me, is the next bubble. 13 personnel. With all receiving tight ends who've got the ability to take the top off a defense. Dallas Goedert is a monster in the red zone. Zach Ertz is a monster anywhere. Get yourself another fluid route runner who on pick routes and that sort of thing can open the game up for someone like a Matt Collins or a Jordan Matthews if he comes back, or an Alshon Jeffrey. Just imagine it. Is it really that far-fetched? To go D-line round 1, linebacker round 2, tight end round 2. Or if they trade up from round 4. I think, honestly, I would put money on it. Because I'm that confident it will work. It will be such a buzz in that offense. You have committee running backs. You have committee wide receivers. You're starting to even see committee quarterbacks when you look at what happened with Lamar Jackson for a little bit last year. Why not? I mean, look at what the Saints are doing the same. Drew Brees has got himself a nice little gadget quarterback now that goes out occasionally and throws and Why not committee tight ends? Why can't this be the next big thing? Someone explain to me in the comments, tell me why. Because the position's undervalued currently. Because people are still not sure whether you can bolt them onto the offensive line or whether you want a receiving tight end. So stack up. If receivers are making more money and tight ends are making less and you need a slot receiver, just cut Aguilar, save $9 million, and then draft the tight end and then sign the number 2 receiver, aka John Brown, and you have got the most explosive offense in the NFL. For that $9 million, you get John Brown, maybe Le'Veon Bell, I don't know, depending how friendly and fat he's feeling. He's put on a bit of weight, bless him. Why not? I think that's going to break the NFL. I can't tell if I'm genuinely sleep deprived or not, but I feel that confident. Noah Fant to the Eagles in round 1. If that happens, I will sit on this podcast, shave my head, and dye it green. Because that will be the best day of my life. I mean, second or third. There was one time where I went to a trampoline park with this, the girl that I talked to in Move, and I tried to slam dunk because there was basketball hoops, and I went under the leg, and I can't remember what it's called, but it was under the leg and over the... It was great. It was great. She didn't get it on video, you know? It's one of them. But, just imagine me, the 6'3" Goliath that I am, with a 38-inch vertical, right, with a basketball, jumping on a trampoline. I was like one of them jump squad things from the Sixers. Under the leg, over the head, smash! Right, that happened. It took about 18 goes. She wasn't impressed. It's probably what led to the downfall. But looking back is a great thing. Let me know what you think about the tight end situation though, guys. We are going to move to my favourite part of the show. Whether it's yours or not probably depends on the questions that you ask me. It's called Thank You Next. And after again asking you on Twitter, because you all left me hanging last week and I'm still not over it, you're here. So we're going to start it off with @Vic from Jersey. Or Vic P from Jersey, sorry Vic P. How about a Le'Veon Bell and Spencer Ware pickup? That's a good shout. I think that's a good combo the Eagles should seriously look into. I've been literally pining the table. Pining the table? What does that even mean? Just rubbing pine along the table. I've been pounding the table for Spencer Ware for about ever since Peterson came in from Kansas City. Because I think he is the most underrated back from that whole Kansas City era. Out of Charsandrick West and everything. I think it'd be a fantastic fit, if I'm brutally honest. But if you're going to fit in with Le'Veon Bell, Bell's a do-it-all back. He's so good, that's the problem. The Eagles want to run a committee, and Bell will do everything brilliantly. He'll catch, he'll block, he'll get through the tackles, he'll get outside. Like, he's just incredible, alright? Bell is a committee back in himself. I think if you go Le'Veon Bell, he's your feature back, you have a change of pace, and maybe a receiving option. I don't think Spencer Ware would fit in that scenario. If you're going to go Spencer Ware, that's when you're looking at someone like a Tevin Coleman, someone like a Jordan Howard, or potentially my draft crush, Devin Singletary. But I like the idea. Thank you. Next, I've got to scroll down. Give me a second here. All right. At Eric the Bowie. Now, he's called Eric, but his name's Billy Boy. But there is a picture of a dog. Now, I don't know if the dog's called Billy or Eric, but I like your dog. It's a cute dog. We should look into what we could get for Ertz. What do you think? Whoa, hang on a minute. Right, we've just had a big chat about tight ends, Billy Boy, Eric the Bowie. Let's not get carried away. However, let's just roll back a few years. Do you remember when the New Orleans Saints traded Jimmy Graham for what I believe was a first and a third? No, I do. And then they took a centre with it, and then they got much better, and then everything's great. If you're gonna cash in on Ertz, as bad as it sounds, it's this year or next year. Or probably next year. He just obviously signed the extension, so don't worry about it too much. I think it's a bit premature. Ertz hasn't even hit his prime yet. That's the scary thing. And the chemistry he's got with Carson Wentz, you don't really want to rock that boat. But I would say it's possible, for sure. It's absolutely possible. I think there's the only untouchable person here now is Carson of Wensington. Maybe Fletcher Cox. I think he's been pivotal. Same with Malcolm Jenkins, Lane Johnson. Outside of those guys, I think everyone else can be at least looked at if a team comes knocking. Thank you. Next, Canadian Eagle. Assuming the Eagles keep Adelor, let's hope for a play cut. And bring in John Ross, who has been linked to Philly. Do you think that wide receiver room would be strong enough next season, or would more moves need to be done? So, in that scenario, what we've got, Aguilar, John Ross, Olshon, Mike, John Ross isn't someone that can come in. I sound so British when I say John Ross. I'm like, John Ross. It's Archeo Bob. I think John Ross, having done the film room on him, has got a lot of potential, has been so hampered by injuries, is actually ridiculous. If he gets another year in Cincy, then fine. But you've got to ask yourself again, much like the Jordan Howard trade, this is someone taught me to look at this. Nothing gets out in the media unless someone wants it to, especially the NFL Network or any of those big reporters, because they know where that's the impact's going to happen, right? They get everything first for a reason. So, if you look at John Ross, why would a team who have got AJ Green for one more year want to trade him? They've got no receiving corps. The Bengals have no one. Zilch, Plendu, zero, nil point at receiver after 2019. Why would they want to trade a former first round pick who is, Mr. 4.22, Mr. I run really fast? Why would they want to trade him? Something's not right. They're not happy. I know the Bengals' vanilla offense really didn't help him. I know quarterback play really didn't help him. He'd be a nice fit in Philly, don't get me wrong, but I can't see it being... You can't hang your hat on a receiver that is as fragile as my heart. You just can't do it. Actually, I must say, I'm a rock. I'm an absolute behemoth. I will not be broken. But I think it would need... You can't have John Ross. I would say... If you say John Brown, we've got Aguilar, John Brown. Yeah, let's roll with that. Aguilar, John Brown, Alshon Jeffrey, Matt Collins. But yeah, you're good with that. Absolutely good with that. Change John Ross for John Brown, Canadian Eagle, and you've got yourself a nice deal. Thank you. Next, Teddy Buriani. Would you rather use a fourth to trade for Duke Johnson or draft a running back in the fourth? Let's say Singletary, Henderson, or Williams. That's a great question. Because what's interesting with Johnson, obviously, is that he's still in his rookie deal. So you've got him on contract till 2021. He'll be due a 1.8 million cap hit, I think, off the top of my head this year. Next year, then obviously doubles, and it's nearly 5 mil in 2021. It depends how you view it. I had this thing the other day with the Jordan Howard situation where looking at that and would he be a fit? There are some great guys. I love Darrell Henderson. I think he'd be a fantastic guy. Williams would be another one. I've got a personal draft crush on Travion Williams. I love him. Not like that, but he's got a nice little funny bit of hair that flicks down over his head. So there's that. But I think he'd be a fantastic fit. And I don't see why the Eagles wouldn't spend a fourth. What the Eagles have done, what they need to do differently this year, is that just like wide receiver 2, they haven't invested substantial enough capital to say, this is our guy now. Whether it's Wendell Smallwood, oh, lovely, he's on loads. Donnell Pumphrey, who's literally now tweeting about nothing and still arguing with Bryce Treggs, who's now a photographer, I think. So his playing career's gone well. Actually, we're going to get a rant on a Bryce Treggs in a minute. We'll do that later. yeah, I personally think that in that scenario, you've got to go for longevity. And if you're going to get, you know what Duke Johnson's going to be, but there's going to be a Duke Johnson like there was a Jordan Howard in every draft. And I think that with someone like Mota Singletary, with someone like Travion Williams, there's enough depth there. But now the Eagles have to look at this and say, do you know what? We haven't invested in running back for a while. That's why our running game has been absolutely abysmally inconsistent for a while. Now's the time to change it. Pick up a couple. You've got 2 4th-round picks. Double dip. You know, get those Darely Dunkers in. Get 2 guys and really revamp that backfield. Obviously, there's still a lot of unknowns with Corey Clement and that kind of thing, but I do think they have to invest. So trading for Duke Johnson is going to be one way of looking at it, but you've got to give up certain assets. And if a 4th-round pick is the price, you may as well just pick up a back anyway, who's going to be a little bit younger, a little less tread on the tyres, and could fit your scheme arguably a bit more. But that is it for Thank You Next. I've got 2 more things before we go out today. One of them, obviously, looking at Michael Bennett, because that has really annoyed me. It's just really rubbed me the wrong way. If you don't know, Michael Bennett, being the beautiful human that he is, I mean, I hate to be a character guy. I've never met Michael Bennett. I've never spoken to Michael Bennett. But from what I've heard, good team guy, but can get a little bit, I would say, big for his boots. And I think that's what we're seeing now. So Bennett has gone on the NFL Network and said, I want more money. I know the Eagles have none of it, but I want more, lol. And if I don't have it, and someone trades me, I'm aware if they want to trade me, and they can pay me more money as well, Lamau. Great. Well done, Michael Bennett. You had a 9-sack season. Congratulations. You're earning $6 million. Congratulations. That makes you around the 20th paid defensive end in the league. Are you better than that? Absolutely. Well done. You know you are. And at this point in your career, have you not earned enough? You know? I would say that's a lot of money. $6 million in perspective. The thing with Michael Bennett now is that obviously there were the allegations last year when Philly first got him and he went to prison for... What did he just chokeslam some woman at the Super Bowl, didn't he? As far as I'm aware. Like some old woman was like, don't go on the field, Michael. You're not allowed without... And he just chokeslammed her through a table. So, I think going on from that to now where it's got to a stage where this Eagles team is so selfless. You've got Malcolm Jenkins, Lane Johnson, Zach Ertz, Brent Selleck at the time, all taking pay cuts. Rodney McLeod restructures. Brandon Brooks restructures to give Nick Foles a bonus. And you've got Michael Bennett going, I know you've got no money, but I want more. I had a relationship like that. Not my last one. It was like, I don't know, 2 relationships ago. Where I had no money. I was skint because I kept buying fucking dinner. I'd be going out to dinner like 2 times a week. And she'd be going, we never go out. And I'm like, well, we do because my bank balance says it. So, and she'd keep wanting more. And eventually... You've got to release them to free agency. Because if they want to get more money, they're going to end up settling for, you know, the New York Jets, okay? And then they can't afford dinner at all anyway, and they end up kind of just deteriorating a bit. I mean, for perspective, I'm not going to name said girl. She is now going out with someone that did go to court for putting a video of an animal, a rat in a cage on YouTube and setting fire to it. Alright? That's not a joke. I wish I was making it up. I really do. And then I said this on a train, and she got wind of it, and then they both messaged me on Facebook and started threatening me, because he also went to court for, you know, offences we won't talk about. And I was like, well, if you're going to get involved with that, that's fine. Or just have 2 dinners a week and be satisfied with it. So, yeah, Michael Bennett, my advice would be, don't jump out of the pan into the fire. I don't think you know how good you've got it. You've got a great team. You've been on great teams. Obviously, Seattle was one of the best teams in the NFL. You were with them for such a great amount of time. You achieved so much with that Legion of Boom. You now come to a Philadelphia defense where you still make the playoffs despite everything possible going wrong. And now you're only looking up and you're going to go, go and get it then. I don't think the Eagles would care. They've re-signed Brandon Graham. Graham and Barnett one side, Long and Sweat if he improves the other. I don't think they're going to care. They can just draft one, or they can just get a free agent one. It's not that deep. Alright? If you want to go strut your stuff and make some money, look at what else is going on in that market. Apparently, oh wow, are you joking me? Literally, as I've just said that, New England have traded for Michael Bennett. Brilliant. That is absolutely phenomenal. Oh my god. On the podcast, we've broken a story. Michael Bennett to the Eagles. Get out. Get in the bin. Oh, that is fantastic. What an absolute Wendigo. Oh, good for you. The haven of fallen character issue based players. Get out. Oh, I don't care. Get out. That's great. On that note, my name is Liam Jenkins. I've got a report to go and write up. We'll see you next time for another episode of The Outside Insider.